Hello everybody, my name is Michael, you know me as Coding Jungle, and today I want to go over Babble 3.0. There has been a lot of changes to Babble. The look, some of the new features. I want to go over all that. I want to get some feedback. And if you're interested in joining the beta, I'm currently doing beta of it. So if you're interested in it, let me know. Some caveats with the beta. It'll be partially unstable. It'll have annoying little bugs, and if you don't want, if you want to roll back, you'll probably have to uninstall and reinstall the older one because of the way, you know, IPS apps are. So just keep that in mind. If you want to keep your messages intact, don't go to the beta. If you want to test out the beta, don't care about your old messages and all the work you've done, let me know and I'll get you in it and you can test it, run it for me, and let me know if there's any more bugs you find other than the ones that I've already found for myself. So let's get into it. Now, as you can see, the look of Babel has changed quite a bit. Um, it's this like tab-like interface now. It doesn't have the loading screen anymore because about as many people loved it, I had about 3 times as many people who absolutely hated the connecting screen. I'm not sure why. It either they didn't quite understand what it was for or what it did. For whatever reason, people did not like it. And so I've decided to remove it. And now you have this little icon. That's all that will ever tell you if it's connected or not. And it will flash green if it's connected. It will flash red if it's not connected. Um, that's about it. If you try to send a message while it's disconnected, it will actually tell you, "Oh, we're not connected." So the connecting screen is gone now. All right. The next change is you can create private rooms now, and private rooms are similar to whispers in that one, they're private. But they're more like group messages, private group messages where you can add as many people as you want. I might actually limit that, might actually put a setting in there because you don't want them to invite like 300 people into it, especially if you got, because I will be enforcing the 100 member limit on these things. So just keep that in mind. On the chat service, you have a limit. On the self-hosted, the limit is whatever your server can handle, really. So just keep that in mind. All right, so we create the room. We can call it whatever we want. We're going to call it. We're not going to do it from here. We're going to do it from here. And we're going to invite Awesome Tucker. And like I said, you can invite as many people. You can even invite yourself, but it ain't going to do anything. So we're just going to invite several other people to it. And we're going to hit create. And it's going to send a notification to each of these people. Now, if one of the people getting the you're inviting isn't online, they won't get this. But if when they come to the site, so let's copy the link, close this out, and let's go back into it. It will automatically let them know after a few seconds that, hey, they've got an invite for a private room. It will also do it to an extent with whispers, but not always. I'll go more over that later. But with private rooms, it will say, oh, hey, they sent you an invite. And if they click yes, what it will do is it will load them up, say that they've joined, and it will show them in the online list down here on the private room as being there. But if they leave or go somewhere else, it will show that they've disconnected. And same with the online list. It won't show them in the online list anymore. Unfortunately, on the regular rooms, it won't show them that. But on the private rooms and the whispers and the club rooms, it does show. Actually, on club rooms, it doesn't show this. So on private and whispers, it will show you if they're online or not. And if you got several people, because I invited several people, it will show all the ones that have joined. If they've joined, they will show up down here, and if they're green or red, depending on if they're online or not. If they're green, they're online. If they're red, they're not. All right, so that's private rooms, and you can distinct. The icon will tell them what kind of room it is. Like a circle is just a regular room. It's just the room that you create in the ACP. It's one of these rooms. Now these can have a couple different symbols on them. Like this one will have a lock or a key on it, is saying that it's a password protected one. This will have the single user icon, a whisper, which is similar to a private room, but it's only a one-on-one. It's not a, it will say, Michael's requesting to whisper with you. Do you wish to begin the conversation? Click yes. It's a little bit different. It's just a one-on-one room. It's not, you can't invite more people to it. You don't have access to the commands or anything like that. You don't have access to bots like on, a private room. It's just a message. It's just a one-on-one conversation between you and another person. So, and then they can leave that, like, because these things are persistent. All the rooms and everything are persistent now. So, they're, like I said, they're persistent. So you have to choose to leave them, or you can choose to just keep them open. Like if you get too many of them and you're like, oh, I don't talk to this person anymore. I don't talk to this person. You can leave them, but now if both people leave, like if Tucker left this, it'll say, okay, Tucker left. Tucker left the conversation, and it'll only show you in there. Now, if Tucker wants to rejoin that, if he leaves a whisper, all he's got to do is come back over here and go to invite to whisper, and it opens up the same one. It won't even confirm that he, has initiated again, other than it'll say Tucker's rejoined it. But if you leave and they leave, and you go to recreate it, it will start the process over again. There'll be a new room, whole new conversation history and everything. So let's keep that in mind. With the private rooms, it works a little bit different. If Tucker left, you can actually delete this, like as the owner. The person who created the room is the owner of it. So they have the command options. Like they get a lot of them, and I'll go over to what commands private rooms get and whatnot in another video. But they get more command options, like invite and remove, which gives them the ability to invite or remove, people from the room. So, but if you choose to leave on your own, you can only be invited back in. There is no way to jump back into a room once you leave it. So if Tucker left, the only way he's getting back into this room is if, Michael, my account, invites him back in by, with the invite. I can't type tonight. That's the only way he's getting back into that private room, is if I re-invite him. But if Tucker's annoying me, he's not being so awesome, just gets kicked from the room. Alright, so like I said, you can create bots in private rooms. You can't do them in Whisper because, like I said, Whispers on a room or a message between two people. But in a private room is a private room. Unfortunately, I don't open up that ability. Like, here's the rules. You accept it. You still have to create the bots in the ACP. And the reason I do that is because there's some benefits for, bots in the ACP. And, like electric rooms. private rooms can't be password protected. So, um, there's some differences between them, but they can create the bots. They're limited bots. They're not the full range. Like they have the bots that used to be in Babble, because there's 3 new bots, and this one has one of the new bots, but doesn't have the other 2, and we'll go over that when we go over the bots. But they can create the bots if they want. If not, they can just cancel out of it. But like I said, the private rooms or the whispers don't get bots. They're just, I guess, a conversation. In the future, if I was to delete this and people are still in it, it would show that the room's been deleted. It would be like, oh, they left. Let's go ahead and get all out of here. All right, password works similar to the way it used to. They you password protect a room. They enter the password. It's good for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, they have to re-enter the password if they refresh the page or whatever. Rules, if you change them, or after 31 days, they expire. So it works similar to the way it used to. But instead of reloading the page, it all happens in the magic of Ajax now. So. Settings wise, there are a couple of new settings. Like we can disable the toolbar on the editor because I don't know why you would want to do that. I did it because it's one of my goals was to remove a lot of this dead space. That's why uploads are hidden now by default. That's why I've done a custom upload area here, because a lot of dead space in the IPS editor. Maybe let's go take a look at it. There's a lot of dead space. Like this entire thing is dead space, and it was getting kind of annoying. I missed my simple, elegant text box area, but you still have the editor here. It's still the editor. It's not like it's not what I wanted. There we go. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, that's what that does. You can turn it on or turn it off. It's a group setting. It's a user setting. So if you as the user want it, you can do it. But if not, you can move it down. Now local time. This is I know this one has an extra set of zeros because it was before I changed it. But local time is like the time that it shows on your clock. So if your clock shows 2:19, local time will show the time that it was sent. And if you hover over it, it will tell you the date. And this is because some people don't like the relative time. They don't like the now and 1 minute, 2 hours, 3 hours, that kind of thing. They want the local time. Reverse message order works the same way as it did in the others. Just the code's been greatly improved. Send button, you can hide it if you don't like it, or you can turn it on. Disable PR invites. What this does is, if you don't want to, like if I turn it on, and Tucker, I don't know why I closed that. And Tucker was like, oh, I'm going to invite Mike to a whisper. And it says, sorry, this member is currently not accepting private room invites at the time. And it will do the same for the actual private rooms. So if I was to try to send me a private room request from my other account here, it will tell me, he's not accepting private rooms. All right, so enable interleave message. Not sure if there's any of them here. All right, that's what this is. Austin Tucker's left the building, and if he was coming in new, it would say Austin Tucker has entered the building. That's what that is those, because those used to be tied into the sounds, and a lot of people want it. They're like, well, I still want to know if people entering and leaving. I just don't want the sounds, so I decoupled them. Links, that's another thing. A lot of people want it. Back before I foolishly went to this horrible editor because people wanted it, and it turned out to be a nightmare. But I've done too much work on it and shaked out all the bugs to it now, or most of them. That it's here to stay. But people still want to open up links, their links to open up in a new window instead of holding down the control key, because I guess you can't do that on a tablet or an iPhone or an Android phone. That they wanted the links to open up in a new tab. So this is what this does. It's a user set permission. If any links that appear have they will open up in a new window now. That's including profiles. So if I was to go look at Tucker's profile, in theory, I guess it's not working. Well, that worked, but view profile is not working. Why is that? It should be working. It was working last night. Oh, anyway, it will open them up in a new window. Inline notifications, notification count, those are all the same. Truncate is interesting. Let's say you have one of those people. We all have one of those people on our forums. They want to write out their life story into the chat for whatever reason. Just because they want to write it out doesn't mean I have to read it. And that's what the truncate option does, is it hides it basically. And if you want to read it, you can click to read more and it will open it up. But that's just so, when you first come to it, you can see more than one message or two messages. I should make it smaller. But basically that's what it does, is it limits the overall how much text is shown on it. And if you turn it off, it will always display the text. And message sounds work the same, so you can turn them on and off, that sort of thing. Pretty much it. You got your online list, which is over here now. It's always on, but it's not always viewable. I know some people might not like that, but there's other options. You can now rearrange the tabs, like if you got multiple, you can move them around. So if you have several, say private messages, because they will wrap around if you got too many. When you want to move some of them closer together, you can move them around. And it's persistent, like I said. If you refresh the page, it's persistent. All right, let's go talk about the chat bar. I know everybody's here for that. All right, the chat bar is quite new. Some people are going to love it. Other people are going to hate it. That's why there is the option to disable it. On the chat bar, it is a persistent thing. It will be on every page. Everywhere you go, it will follow you like a thief in the night. All right, so let's say the reason this exists, because I know a lot of people had asked for something like this in the past. I just didn't know how to do it the way I wanted to do it. And I finally came up with an idea that I liked. And at the end of the day, really, it's about ideas that I like. And basically, the chat rooms are open up in their own windows. It kind of works like a desktop would. With Windows, you got your online list. You got your settings list. You can move them about anywhere you want. You can resize them. You can make them really big or you can make them really small. But there are limits to how big and or how small you can make them. There's no limits on how big you can make them. But the idea behind it is to have several. Let's say you want to put a couple of them over here, and when you want your online list to be down here, and you pin them. And what pin does is it keeps them docked to the screen. So as you're scrolling, they're always there. And the idea behind this is that the bar would be open. You can even minimize the bar if you want. And they're persistent, so they stay open based on when they were open last, their position, their size, and everything. So if you want to make the online lists a little bit smaller, you can. But that one's really finicky. It will actually try to go bigger than. I don't know why it does it. It's kind of weird like that. But they stay open, so you can monitor. You can be looking at say a forum topic. And you can be reading that and replying to chats as you're doing it. And so that's the idea behind the chat bar. And you can move the chat bar around, like you can have it on the bottom. You can have it on the top, you can have it on the left side, you can have it on the right side. It's wherever you basically want it on the four corners. Or the four sides, I should say. Remember is that it remembers the position, the location that they're on. Now, for mobile, regardless if you're in if you got the chat bar enabled or not, on mobile, it's always going to be in the chat bar style because mobile's a pain in the ass to develop for. I mean, it will follow, your positions like where you want it, and then you close them out to read, you browse through. You can open it back up, check your messages, create rooms, see who's online, change your settings if you want. That's how the mobile looks. And the reason there's a gap here, I can't demonstrate it here, but what it's supposed to do is when the keyboard's open, it gives you, so it's not hiding up, that stuff. So that's the idea behind that gap. Like I said, you can have it anywhere you want. You want it on the right. That's why I like it on the right better. It looks better on the mobile when it's like this. And this bar over here just tells you that it's supposed to give you the menu. That's what that bar does, because when it's small like that, that's when the bar appears. It's supposed to be the menu, but it's not working on this because I changed something in the menu on the live side or on the main side here. Wow. I added this little button down here for it instead of being on the avatar, because it wasn't as obvious on the avatar, but now maybe people will be like, oh, I've got that, and oh, there's a 3 dot. If I click that on my browser, my 3 bar up here, I've got the options. Maybe that does something, and gives you edit, delete, quote, the the invite to private, ignore. Gives you several more options for other people. Well, that's that. That's the chat bar. I know a lot of people might not like it. I've already had some negative, extremely negative feedback on it. But I've also had positive feedback on it. So let me know if you like it that way. Maybe ways to improve it. I'm not completely married to the idea. Because like I said, you can switch between the two. It's not like this is like my original plan was to only have this. And some words of wisdom from a colleague of mine was like, well, maybe can you find a way to offer them both without offering both? Because if you actually look at the way the other one works, it's the same code. It really is. It's the same template, same code. The only difference is instead of having the windows appear, and being moved around, they just appear below it. So that's all I really did. I mean, it's just honestly, it was about 30 lines of code or 30 lines of JavaScript and about 10 lines of CSS that separate the chat bar and the widget area. And with the chat bar disabled, you can do widgets again, and you have your landing page again. So there is that. I mean, people are going to like that. People get stuck on that old timey wimey stuff. Um, but I try to keep as much as I could the same the way it was. But all right. So that's the chat bar, and like I said, I know a lot of you are gonna like it. A lot of you aren't gonna like it. I know a lot of you probably aren't even gonna like the old style either, or the fallback mode, as I should probably call it. But yeah, there are a couple extra settings back here now, like command symbol. Like somebody requested this. I don't remember who it was, but they requested a command symbol, like defining their own command symbol. And I think I was like, that'd be difficult. Actually, it was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So instead of the commands coming up with the forward slash like they traditionally do, like if I type the forward slash in right now, it wouldn't do anything. And you got to refresh the page afterwards because it's JavaScript and it's already loaded. So, but if I was to do the command symbol now, which is the pound sign or the hashtag, it would bring up the command symbol. So whoever wanted that, it's in here now. Cleanup, you can now do how many days to keep. It used to just keep 24 hours. Now you can set how many days you want to keep back to. That pretty much it. Everything else works the same way it did in the other one. Layout, you got your chat bar. You can disable the online list. You still got your setting for reverse order, disable uploads. If you don't want people to upload, I mean, there are some people out there. They don't want to. They don't mind them uploading in the forums. They just don't want them uploading giant, obnoxious images in Babble. So, or inappropriate stuff in Babble, I should say. Sometimes. You can disable it globally, or you can disable it because it's not in the rooms anymore. Like on 2.8 or the 2 series and the 1 series, like there used to be much more permissions. Now there's only 2. The reason that is because a lot of the permissions I have moved to the global settings and stuff like that. Because I started that in the 2 series, and the 3 series is a further refinement upon that. So yeah, and then you got your images things like how do you want to handle the images when they upload them. The IPS way, lazy load, hidden. They show like a show me like a spoiler tag type thing. And then the resize, which is just it resizes itself. People they liked it. I mean, I thought a lot of people hated it, but there were people out there that liked the old style, so I put it back in. Bots, private rooms and clubs now get access to some of the bots. So if you don't want them to have access to it, you can just disable it. Otherwise, you got to disable it in the group setting. So just keep that in mind. Max phrases, basically, it's just if you got a phrase, you say you got 4 bots and 2 of the bots match, phrases. What this does, it only shows 1 instead of showing all of them. It will only do the 1 because there was code in it for like the bot itself. Like if you had like 4 matches inside the bot for it to match, it would only send 1. But if there was another phrase bot, it wouldn't do anything for that. It would actually run that bot. So what this does is, if you got 2 bots, regardless of how many matches are actually inside it, it will now limit, and you can set that to, if you set it to 0, it will kill it right out. It won't honor that. It will just run until they're done. But if you set it to 1 or 10 or something like that, it will help better control that. I know some people wanted that for a while, and I just never implemented it. Clubs, same thing. It controls the upload size. Sounds, same thing. You can upload your own files or leave the custom the ones that are in there. The only one I'm missing is Whisper, because whispers are still there. It's just they use the rooms logic now, so it was just easier to have one set of sounds instead of trying to switch between send and receive and enter and send and receive basically, or replace it with the whisper sound. I don't know, that might irritate some people because the send and receive sound are kind of loud. And I'm sorry about that. It's just there's not a whole lot of good free audio sounds out there. I was going to use the ones from IPS, like steal the ones that the old IPS chat had, and I asked for permission, and Lindy was like, "Oh, sure, no problem." But you got to contact these people because that's where we got them from. Well, I contacted them like several times, and I never heard anything back from them. So that's why I never took the old sounds from the old chat, because the people who made them never responded back. And legally, I can't, since I can't use them, basically, because they're not mine. They're not IPS's. IPS had permission to use them. I had to get permission to use them, and I just couldn't attain permission to use them. And there's so many janky sites out there that, will give you free sound. Free sounds. Yeah, they're free to download, but they're not royalty free. You can get into a lot of trouble. So the sounds that are in there are definitely, I guess you could say, free and open source sounds. The site, I vetted it. I talked to several people where I got them from, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, these are completely free sounds." That's why they suck, because, well, I shouldn't say that, because I use a free operating system. I use Linux, so and it doesn't suck. But yeah, there's not as much detail given to them, so that's why you can replace them if you want to take the risk and grab an audio file that sounds like the Apple swoosh, from their message system or something. That's why this option's in here. So, all right, enough of the sounds. Let's go to the bots. All right, on the bots, there are some that have changed. Well, nothing's really changed in the bots. I've added new ones, like a time clock one. Now, I need to fix this one because it doesn't work the way I thought it was going to work. It goes off of server time. So if you set this to 6:40 p.m., even though my time is 2:40 a.m. right now, this won't go off in 4 hours. This will go off when it's set to the server time. And the only reason it would go off at 6:40 p.m., I said a.m., didn't I? At 6:40 a.m. my time is because my server is local and it runs off of my time. Now your server might not be in the same time zone as you. It might be 100. It could be 1,000 miles away and 3 different time zones. 3 time zones away from you. So I will set it where you can add a time zone to it, so it will trigger for that time zone. So if you set it for 6:40 a.m. and you're in the Midwest, like I am, you're in the Central Standard Time Zone, it will go off at 6:40 a.m. your time, not 6:40 a.m. the server's time, which is typically UTC, or um, it could actually be in a couple time zones away. And now the other two are trigger or custom time bot and custom trigger bot. And they work more or less the same way. The biggest difference is the time bot you can set to delay or the clock time. And the trigger bot is you have to set up the criteria for it triggering. Like these other ones, like the count, and the phrase bot are both trigger bots. They get triggered by something. Like the count bot gets triggered by how many messages have been made in the room for every, like, you can set it to like every five messages, you can trigger the count bot. The count bot will be triggered. And phrases, just that, somebody enters a phrase like hallelujah, and you got a bot for that, or somebody curses and you like, oh no, dirty mouth, you dirty person, why are you cursing in my chat, that kind of thing. Notification registration, those are technically trigger bots as well, but they're not triggered inside the chat. They're triggered by events on the system, like a new registration and notifications when how you got it configured if a new post is made or a new topic is started in the forums that you choose, or a new article is added, or a new download is made available. That's what so those are triggered too, but they're triggered by other criteria. So what the trigger bot does, you'd have to set up, like in PHP, like what criteria you want it to trigger on, and then return the message from there. The time bot will run like the clock or the minute bot, and basically you set it to go off every day at 6:40 a.m. your time, or the time delay, which is every 60 minutes or something like that. And I had code here for a Twitter bot, and basically what the Twitter bot would do is it would grab tweets from a timeline, from your timeline, and send them out. Like, you can set it. I'll offer up the code on my site. I'll put it in here, and we can do a test real fast. And don't worry, I will erase these keys after this video goes live, so nobody can use them, because it gives away my keys. But basically what it's doing is it's connecting to Twitter. It's pulling, I think I got it set to 2. Pull 2 of my tweets from my account. Won't include replies or retweets. It's just that it pulls from my user timeline. The since one is since it was last ran. And I set it to a variable that's available to the bot, which is room extra. You can set it as an array, room extra since ID. And once you set that, what it does is after the bot will run, it will save it to the room. You can there's also bot extra, which is basically the same thing. You create add an array to it, an array key to it, and a value. But that's for the bot. If I was to set this the sense ID to the bot, then it would only run in one room. But what if I assign it to 2 rooms? Well, that's why the room's there, so I can assign it to the room instead of the bot. So now it runs in multiple rooms. But yeah, it grabs the tweet, it embeds it, it uses the embed code from IPS, builds the URL, and it implodes them, so they show up, and then I return them. If it empty, it doesn't return anything, and then the bot doesn't do anything. It's just like, oh, there's nothing to send, so nothing to send. We're going to have it set to run every 1 minute. We're going to title it as the Twitter bot. Member is going to, you can set your member, to whoever you want. So it's a custom time bot. We're going to hit save. All right, who can trigger it? It triggers on its own, so it doesn't matter. But who does it show to? This is important. We could tell it to show to everybody or just a specific group. We're going to just leave it as the defaults. And so if we come back to the bots here, all right, it's a custom time bot. It's enabled, and we're going to sync it with a room. We're going to sync it with both of these rooms. And now a minute from now, well, it did it already. As you can see, it pulled in my tweet, my last tweet. I'm not going to show you because it's a messed up picture of a news article I saw. I'm like, man, what's wrong with people? Excuse me. And when this runs again, it will see that the last tweet was this tweet ID. And it will, I don't know why it does that. It does that sometimes. It resets it. Don't know why. I think it's loading. Because if we watch, see, it does it. I don't know why it does that. It only does it on the truncate thing. It must be doing something. I think it's loading the image, to be honest with you. I think it's IPS lazy load. It's triggering it. Yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty messed up article. But next time it runs, it's going to, since I haven't made any new tweets, it's not going to show anymore. It's not going to continuously show the last tweet. It's only going to show new tweets since that last tweet. And you can adjust that however you want. Like I said, I'll make this code available on my site for anybody who wants it. It's real simple code. It uses the IPS. Well, doesn't use the it does use the IPS, but it's a custom. Where is it? Forces. Oh, that's core. Where's Babble at? Babble. Yeah, it's an API that I pulled from GitHub that I've modified. Yeah, Twitter API by Jimbo, it looks like. But I modified it to use IPS because he had curl and everything in here. I modified it to use the IPS framework. So that's why I have it in here. But this is included with This is included with Twitter. So you can do other things. You don't have to go through this endpoint. It should work with almost all endpoints in the Twitter API. I just have it on the user timeline one because that's all I wanted it for. But you could do more with it. But it's up to you to modify it, figure out how to build it and all that. But this will get you access to the API and go from there. All right, so. And then on the trigger bot, like I said, you have to set, because otherwise, if you don't set something to trigger on, like every time you type, it's going to trigger it. See? So you have to have something to trigger it. I mean, or either it will just run indefinitely. It'll run after every message, basically. So you need to set up some kind of, because you do get the message, and you'll get the message object, which is um, this. You'll get this, and you'll get the room object. Oh no, you don't get the room object. Oh no, you do get the room and bot object. So you get the room object, and you'll get the bot object. So whoever is available to them, you'll get in here, and you can access them through message, room, and bot. But you don't get a message object for the custom time bot because it will. It's not. There's no message. It doesn't. It's not triggered by a message. But the custom trigger bot gets it. So you'd have, like I said, you'd have to set up something, for yourself. I had to get a drink there. Now the reason these aren't exposed on the front end for clubs or private rooms, these two, because you have access to the IPS framework, and they could do some nasty shit. Like you could put in here. They could do some shit like that, and on that next message, bam, your entire members database is gone. I mean, just be careful. I might even actually put a limit on these. Like, you'd actually have to go set the user group to be able to use these. So, just because somebody in your ACP might have access to this area, you might not want everybody to have access to these bots because of how advanced they actually are. Yeah, because they can use them to get your like through IPS settings. Whatever it is, conf global, get conf global, whatever it is. They can get your database passwords and all that. So that's why these aren't available to the front end. They're actually blocked out from the front end, and I'll probably put a block on them even for the ACP. So you'd have to go set the user groups to use them, or just keep them to admins only, the actual admins. But then again, like I said, I don't expect a whole lot of people to be using them because they are of their advanced nature. You would need to know PHP, and not a lot of people know that. But in case you hire me or you hire somebody else or you have an on-site developer and you want them to create you a custom bot to do more than what my bots or my built-in bots can do, that's why they're there. Because I was going to do a Twitter bot, a Facebook bot, and an Instagram bot and all that. And I was like, well, why do I want to do all those when I could just create these and then people can come along and add them in if they want. All right, so. That's pretty much it on the bots. There's, like I said, there's the 3 new ones, and there is, that's it. Commands, there's a couple of new commands. Mainly there's invite and remove. Those are for private rooms, so they can invite people and remove them if they're misbehaving. My cat is being weird. Or they want to invite additional people, after the creation of the room. Ignore and unignore, or should be. This one, it's not here, but they should be available to all rooms now. without permissions because kind of silly the way I had it before. Other than that, I don't think there's any other new ones that I added. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Rooms wise, they're identical almost. There's a couple changes, but nothing really to write home about. So, like I said, you're getting in my opinion, a nicer chat. It's got more modern features. It doesn't look like something that came out of AOL in 1995. And you got the chat bar if you want it, but if not, you can go back to this way. Now, one thing I was considering doing was actually making the online list appear over here and having the user can collapse it like they did on 2.8 series, but I don't know yet. I think it's fine here because it's still there, and you got the interleave messages, so you can see who's coming and going. One feature I didn't talk about, I probably should now, is that if you go look at their profile, they'll say Babble rooms, and it will show you all the rooms that they're in. Well, not in, but have access to, that you also have access to. So if they show up here on the online list, and you look up here, these are the rooms that they can see. So they can see demo 1. But if I was to say create a private room and I invite them in, that will show up. No forum. Electric Boogaloo. Go away. Same here, but if I was to create another one and invite somebody else, I need to fix that. It doesn't refresh after I'm. So let's say I create Electric Boogaloo 2 and I invite Michael Ojeda here. And if I hover over my name, it only shows the one, even if I refresh. See, since Tucker doesn't have that option to see that room, it doesn't show Tucker that room. But it shows it here because I have access to see it. So, alright, like I said, let me know what you guys think. And let me know if you want to get into the beta. And I'll get you in it. Alright, have a good one.